Headphones off. On a cloudy and cold Tuesday morning in Northeast Ohio, welcome on into the Animal House here in the Bullpen. It's Bull and Fox with you, and we'll be with you for the next 30 minutes roughly. A lot to get to. Browns, the Buckeyes play tomorrow night, and the Cavaliers finally won a game against a crappy team. That's all coming up in the final show before Christmas. Dustin, how are you today?
Adam, I'm doing very well. I'm back from Myrtle Beach. Spent a week in South Carolina. Had a lot of fun, family vacation. We are back for a couple of days, and then I'm spending the holiday here, and then I'm in Detroit on Friday for the Game Above Sports Bowl between Northwestern and Central Michigan. So
the Game Above Sports, that's what it's called?
Yes, it's a brand. It's a new sponsor of the bowl game. It used to be the Quick Lane Bowl.
Yeah.
Before that, it was the GMAC Bowl.
Yeah, those are smoother names, but okay. I mean, listen, Detroit. No offense to Detroit. I'm sure you'd rather be somewhere warm, but it's still nice to be calling a game.
Really love this bowl game because it's at Ford Field and we're indoors, and it's like the best booth you can call a game at.
Oh, is it really?
Oh my God, network
that's
TV,
awesome.
dude.
That's sweet. That is sweet.
And we're in the booth that literally a week later after Nance and Romo were in there.
Right. Exactly. There's a lot of money right in that booth.
Absolutely.
Nance and Romo. All right, we'll get to all of it coming up. We will talk about college football, but we begin with the Browns, who obviously lost to Buffalo. They played a decent game. I mean, that game was, I think you and I both thought the Bills would cover fairly easily, and they did not. It was a weird game. What do you make of it? Let's start with the defense, because, obviously we talk about Shedeur Sanders all the time, and we will. But let's start with the defense, because obviously the previous 2 weeks, the defense had played terribly. And then in this game, the Bills marched down the field the first 3 times they had the ball. Easily. 3 touchdowns. They get 20 points. They miss 1 extra point. And then from then on, the Browns defense gave up nothing. Josh Allen, I know that, whatever.
It was the worst game of his season.
Yeah. Sure. It was one of the second half I thought was as bad as I've ever seen him play, or at least in the last few years.
But
what happened? What do you make of
Josh Allen? Well, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
I just want to say Josh Allen, as poorly as he played, he made the play at the end. The improvisation, third down conversion, to win the game when it's a 3-point game and they had to have it, and he wasn't playing well.
Right.
The guy's like a centaur, man.
Yeah, well, that's what the greats do, right? Even if they're playing shitty, they'll make a just enough plays to win the game. I mean, you look at that line from Allen, especially how reliant they are on him. You're like, oh, they probably lost the game. But no, they didn't. And obviously James Cook, especially in the first half, was just unstoppable. What a combo the two of them are, especially because the rest of the skill position players are just guys at this point. But the combination of Allen,
I heard Matt Ryan,
Cook,
I heard Matt Ryan talking about this after the game, talking about how the Bills are kind of built like the Patriots back in the day when they had like this nondescript team. They had Tom Brady, obviously.
Yeah.
But their defense was good, not great.
Right.
No players you really like. You don't know a bunch of those guys. I mean, they've got an aging veteran in Bosa on the defense who's playing well.
Yeah.
Just like they had. I mean, I remember back the Patriots had like Junior Seau on their defense and a bunch of old dudes, that were veterans and I don't know. It feels like this is the Bills' year. I could be absolutely wrong because the Rams are playing at a high level, yet they somehow lose to Seattle this past weekend in the craziest game I've ever seen. But
there was a lot of that. How about that Bears game? How about the Lions Steelers? I mean, there was some really crazy games this weekend.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
But I don't want to derail the conversation
on
the Browns Bills because the Browns played a game. I kind of thought that this would be like this. Just because I've watched the Bills every week and I know that like they're frustrating right now to watch as a fan, because my son lives and dies with them. And, we were watching the game down in Myrtle Beach and it was fun. But my son was losing his mind. He's thinking, oh, we're going to lose to the Browns. I'm like, like, remember, they're still the Browns at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And then obviously, the Browns find themselves in that 4th and 32 situation, which was just crazy. But I don't know. I mean, Shedeur played a right at times.
But wait, before we get to Shedeur, give me your thoughts on the defense. Would you consider it a decent game overall, even though they got mashed the first 3 drives?
Bull, they held the Bills to 3 points in the second half.
Yeah. And really, those 3 points were off a turnover. They didn't even move the ball. I think that drive was like 1 yard or something. So the offense did nothing in the second half of the Bills.
It's actually amazing that they lost the game when we think about it. And the only reason they lost the game was the 2 turnovers, I think.
Yeah.
Because they outgained the Bills.
Yep.
They held the Bills to 3 points in the second half. They scored 10, the Bills scored 3 in the second half.
Yeah.
They were better on third down. They had more first downs. Like almost every they excuse me, the Bills rushed for 164, the Browns rushed for 160. Obviously, a devastating injury to Quinshawn, which obviously prayers up for that young man because he's having a hell of a rookie year, and you hope that this doesn't derail his career because it seems like he's going to have a very, very promising career in this league. But yeah, overall, the Browns were 2-4 in the red zone. Penalties were even. Just the 2 turnovers. That was the big difference in the game.
No doubt.
Carson Schlesinger is awesome.
He's phenomenal. He and, for all the talk about this rookie class, I think it's been a little over the top, but Schlesinger and Fannin have completely lived up to, if you think about Schlesinger, a second-round pick, he's been the best defensive rookie in the league. He's going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. And Fannin was a third-round pick. And rookie tight ends don't often make a huge impact. And he's going to finish top 10 in the history of the NFL in receiving yards by a rookie tight end. On a team that can't move the ball for the most part. Those 2 guys have had a magnificent season. But you mentioned Judkins. The good news is the Browns said yesterday that he does not have any structural damage to the knee, which that would be. He's already fractured his tibia. He dislocated his ankle. That's bad enough. If he had done damage to his knee, then we're talking a whole nother level.
But they said a dislocated ankle, right?
Yeah.
There's tendons in there. There's lots. Who knows how that thing's gonna come back together? I assume they're gonna do surgery, right?
They are gonna do surgery. Yes.
So he'll get some metal in that ankle.
The traditional timeline on these injuries would have him back for training camp, but you never know. Things don't always work according to plan, and so it's another position the Browns might have to think about this offseason. That one position you didn't think you'd have to think about. As for Shedeur, I ended up giving him my grade bounced around a little bit between my first and second watch, and in the end, I ended up giving him I can't remember. I think a C+. I gave him for the game. What do you give him for the game?
Shedeur?
Yeah.
C.
C?
Yeah. Played like a rookie at times.
Yeah.
The one interception, I thought, it bounces off Judkins. I thought that he probably, if he can take something off that, he threw it behind him.
Right. Especially because it's a running back.
It's just hard. It's an angle route. He's coming in, and it's behind him, and he throws him a fastball. It's on both players. It did hit Judkins in a spot. He still could have caught the ball, but I'd like to see him take a little something off that. But he still lacks the pocket awareness. I thought the best and most impressive thing about Shedeur in this game was his mobility. I thought he, with his legs looked, very athletic in this game. Maybe not the most fast, but balance and poise and the one sack he somehow gets out of and picks up the first down and was lit in the second half was incredible. So he makes some wow plays, but there's still some head scratchers in there for sure.
No doubt. The highs are high and the lows are low with him.
Yeah.
I thought he made a great throw right before that disastrous 4th and 32 on the first down there. He was scrambling to his right and made a nice throw to Malachi Corley in a tight little window there. But there weren't a lot of those throws, and he didn't throw much. Everything was short, which, you want to see him take some shots, even when the game plan is take what they give you. You still got to take some shots. We got to learn, more. But he was more efficient, more accurate, obviously, overall. Mm-hmm. I raised up from a C to a C+ because of the running. Because, he's way more athletic than he was given credit for coming out of college.
For sure.
That's the best part of his game compared to what people said about his game. And I think his athleticism has been underrated the whole time because on some level you're comparing him to his father, which is unfair, and nobody can compare to Deion Sanders in terms of athleticism except for Bo Jackson. So I think everybody's going to look like not as good an athlete. So I think that's factored in here. But yeah, I mean, it was it was not this game was out. This game was not dissimilar to a lot of the Dylan Gabriel games that we saw when he played earlier in the year. A lot of dink and dunk, short passes, couple mistakes. What'd you think of that second pick? When Bosa, I think it was Bosa that tipped it, right?
I believe so.
I mean, that's just a great play, but sometimes you got to just give credit to the other team, right?
Yeah, I mean, he made a great play.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember exactly what happened on that particular one. For some reason, it's escaping me.
Yeah. Well, he tipped it. I'm pretty sure it was Bosa, and then it just, both of the interceptions were like off the body.
But that one was in the red zone, right? Or around the red zone?
Yes.
That's why
no, I don't think so. I can't remember now. I'm drawing a blank on it too, exactly where it was.
One of them was near the red zone. Anyway, it doesn't matter at this point. But look, I mean, he's showing you some signs. I don't know that I've seen enough that says this guy's the future. I don't think anybody could say that about Shedeur or any rookie that's only played for 4 games.
Yeah, I'm on the fence as to whether he's the future or not. I'm not convinced that any of these quarterbacks in the draft are definitely better than him. I'm not convinced that they're definitely worse than him. I know Jason Lloyd is steadfast. The analytics on Shedeur are bad.
Yeah,
like,
they're
all-time
really
bad. That's part of the picture. I just don't think I don't think it's like the a lot of the EPA and this stuff are saying he's the worst quarterback in the last 20 years. Well, we've seen a lot of football. He's not the worst quarterback in the last 20 years. So if that's what the numbers are saying, I just don't buy that. On the other hand, the eye test group is going crazy the other way. So it's hard to get the reality. And the reality, I think, is that he's a quarterback who has some talent, has some flaws. He might end up being a good quarterback in the league. He might not end up being a good quarterback in the league. I think ultimately, if the Browns lose their last 2 games, they will be picking either first or second in the draft. That's a guarantee if they lose their last 2 games. The question becomes, do you believe Shedeur Sanders can be a top 10, top 12 quarterback, whatever it is, whatever level you think you need to win a Super Bowl? If you think as an organization he can, then I draft something else in the first round. If you don't think he can, but you think either Dante Moore or Mendoza can, and you have a chance to get them, then you take them. It's that simple. But that's up to whoever the decision maker is going to be, whether it's Andrew Berry or somebody else. Hopefully it's somebody else, but whoever it is, that's the determination they got to make. Who, between Sanders and the guys you could draft, who has the best chance of being a top 10 quarterback? And you could talk about all the other things they need, which they do. Offensive line, wide receiver, fine. Until you have the quarterback, you're not doing any winning. Did the Patriots wait until they had good talent to draft Drake May? They did not. When they drafted Drake May, I understand Vrabel's done a great job, but part of and he deserves credit, some credit, obviously, for the huge improvement of the Patriots. But part of it is that Drake May was in his second year and has better talent around him this year. But still, Drake May does not have, except for maybe Travion Henderson, does Drake May have any elite talent around him? No.
I'm trying to think. I mean, they've got some good tight ends. I don't think they're elite.
They got nice players. It's kind of like the Bills, right? But you don't not draft a quarterback because you need other things.
Drake May looks top 10 to me.
Right now he does. We'll see. These young guys, they got to prove it, right? Because last year we would have said Jaden Daniels was top 10, and right now he's not. Last year
not playing either.
That's true. But like Caleb Williams, right now that guy's playing like a top 10 quarterback. He's been tremendous. Trevor Lawrence, I was kind of starting to write him off.
I told you not to write.
Great.
I told you not to write him off. I told you. I like Trevor Lawrence.
He's playing great right now.
Liked Trevor Lawrence,
but he's been inconsistent. So until guys are consistently, that's the difference, right? That's the difference between those guys and even with their, even the thing that puts Lamar and Burrow and Allen and Mahomes above the rest of the guys is that, and now Burrow's had a lot of injuries. Obviously, Mahomes has been a bit of a mess this year. Lamar's been hurt this year. But overall, when those 4 guys have been healthy, they've consistently played great football. Even if their teams haven't won, which they have for the most except for the Bengals, all those 4 guys, when they're healthy, consistently play great football. There's obviously the exception like Josh Allen this week. It happens. That's the difference between them and the next group of guys who play, in the other vein, right? In middle of October, people were talking about Baker Mayfield as an MVP candidate. He's maybe been the worst quarterback in football the last 2 months, or one of them. Certainly the worst of all the veterans. He's been terrible. Did you see that pick he threw at the end of that game last week against Carolina?
Oh, yeah, not great.
That was a horrible throw. There was nobody there.
Yeah, I mean, Baker's had his moments.
Yeah, he's a roller coaster as much as anybody in the league. When he's playing his best, yeah, he looks like a top 10 quarterback. And when he's struggling, he looks terrible. He looks unstartable at times.
Yeah, I mean, that's the difference between Josh Allen and Baker Mayfield. Josh has this extra ability to do things with his legs, and he's so big.
Yeah.
That when he's having a bad game, like, he can use his legs as kind of an eraser that bails him out. Like, he can get away with a lot more than Baker Mayfield because Baker's limited from an athletic standpoint.
Yeah.
And so Baker's just got to be on it from a passing game.
Yeah.
And from a mental approach. And if he's not, it's going to be a bad day at the office. Baker Mayfield can't get away with a performance where he throws 2-3 interceptions. They can't win.
Yeah.
But Josh Allen can.
Yeah. All right, let's switch gears. Before we do, let's take some comments from the fans. Let's see. Chris says, I always watch. Sometimes I have to watch later, but I never miss the show. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Fatal Cheeseburger. I like that name. Happy holiday, fellas.
Is that the cheeseburger from Dumb and Dumber?
Is that what?
Remember, he gives, pills are good. Pills are good. How was your burger?
I do not remember that.
You remember the scene?
I haven't seen that movie in so long. I'm not, I'm not a huge fan of those movies.
No.
Not my cup of tea.
La Who Zaher.
Speaking of TV, where are you on Stranger Things right now?
Have not caught up anymore because
disappointing.
I know. I was on vacation, dude. I was like between watching the bowl games and the playoffs and the NFL and prepping for my game. I kind of got lost.
All right, try to avoid spoilers here.
Let me get through my game on Friday, and then once my season's over, I'll definitely lock in.
All right.
I heard that this Pluribus show is good too.
Okay, so I'll talk about that for a minute. Pluribus, it's a weird show. The Vince Gilligan, the creator of Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, is the same creator of this show. And
it's like what? It's the perfect world, but there's no free will, right?
Basically, except for a few people.
Yeah.
So the show at times is quite boring, but I'm fascinated by it at the same time. It's a very weird show. It's completely unique on TV right now. I'm not completely sure how I feel about it, but it is interesting. I want to see the rest. Let's see. Fire the 0-5 versus trade Garrett and Watson contract for number one pick. No, they're not going to do that. The sack record. He's a half a sack from tying. I hated that half a sack that he got in that game. That was lame, but
I agreed with J.J. Watt, though. Like, he should have got the whole sack.
Really?
I mean, he didn't. Okay, letter of the law, it's not a whole sack.
Yeah.
But he was the one that created the sack. I mean, Allen was running for his life. And for them to give him the half when he basically just reached his arm out and touched him.
They how Steelers, that Filippone in Pittsburgh is whining about the half a sack. So to stop,
he can't believe everything that he says, right?
I know
it's so over the top that I just when I see his tweets, I just think he's trolling like Ken Carman every time.
I think he is. They have quite a feisty relationship, those two. Let's see. Ben says, low key, you guys are my favorite of the bunch. Thank you.
What's the bunch? Who's the bunch?
I guess UCSS.
Okay. Well, this is not UCSS.
No. Let's see. That's good enough for now. Let's see. Let's get to some college football. Buckeyes play tomorrow night.
They don't play tomorrow night.
What
are you talking about?
They play. I was thinking they play
a week from tomorrow,
Christmas Eve, but they play New Year's Eve, a week from tomorrow. Miami at Ohio State. We will be on next week, but some early thoughts on this game heading into the final week before we get to these games.
Well, the cool thing about this game is this is the rematch of my title game.
Yeah.
In 2002 when we played Miami. Have not played them since. And it's
I did
funny
not realize that.
yeah.
I did not realize they hadn't played a game since ever.
No.
That's wild. Over 20 years.
Not in the same conference. And the playoff just kind of came into existence, and Miami hasn't been good. So it's not like they're
That's
playing for
true.
a title every year. They were really good in the early 2000s and the 90s.
Yeah.
We sort of knocked them off in 02, 03, and then they just never really were the same after that
No.
for many years. And now since Mario Cristobal's been there and they got Carson Beck this year, I still wasn't that impressed with their performance against A&M. I didn't think either one of those quarterbacks played particularly well.
Yeah.
Their defenses both played pretty well, but overall, the spread in the game's 10.
Yeah.
Did you see that? 10 points?
Yeah, we got it at 9.5 now here at Bet
Okay.
Rivers. Yeah, this is very different than the game you played because you guys were an underdog in that game.
We were 13-point dogs.
Right, and they were considered one of the greatest teams of all time, and you guys pulled the upset. In this case, Ohio State is a significant favorite. I'd be very surprised if Miami won this game.
I'd be shocked.
Yeah.
I'd be shocked.
Is Ohio State? Yeah, I was going to say, are they
now,
the least?
Now, the
likely
one
team to
thing
lose,
that's
but,
interesting, I'm sure you saw this. Ryan Day is going to call the plays.
Yeah, I did see that. What do you think of that?
I think it's the right call. Only because it's not fair to Brian. The whole situation stinks, right? Because Brian is such an influential part of this run.
Yeah.
And the recruitment and the play calling and the off, like he's just done a great job. He deserves all the credit in the world.
Right.
And he also deserves this job at South Florida, which is a lucrative deal, and it's a great opportunity for him. The timing sucks. It's just not ideal, right? And I don't think it's fair. And I think Brian would probably, like in an honest moment, like I'm sure he wants to call the game, but probably would admit like his focus can't be there. It's just no way.
No.
There's no way. You're trying to build a program, and there's so much that you have to put into that deal right now.
Yeah.
With hiring your staff and putting together recruiting classes and the portal and like a million things are going through his mind. And at the same time, you're trying to be in two places at one time. We saw like John Summerall and Coach Chesney at JMU, talking about Summerall, who's at Tulane, and JMU.
Yeah.
Both those coaches are going to other opportunities. Chesney to UCLA, Summerall to Florida, yet they stayed and coached in the playoffs. And whatever, who knows if
they
if
might have gotten boat raced anyway, but
right, they're group of 5 and they could have got boat raced either way. But the point being, it's tough. Those guys are trying to do two jobs, and they're the head coach.
Everybody talks about the system and the Wild West. Is there any reason they couldn't just say no coach hirings, no transfers, none of this until February the 1st?
Well, the portal has changed now where you've only got the one window. So that's better.
Yeah.
But the coaching thing's just it's still challenging. Because this is when the coaching, like, you can't there's no governing body over coaching changes.
I know, that's the problem. It's just the whole the system sucks for that reason. You have these teams that have these great seasons, and then so many coaches are leaving at the end of the year. Yeah, it's really a shame. But all right, so we all think Ohio State's going to beat Miami. What's your early lean?
Texas Tech's going to beat Oregon.
Yeah,
I've been on Texas Tech for a long time.
You have been. You love their defense.
So I love their defense. The spread in that game is 1.5. I think. What's Bet Rivers have it at?
I think 1.5. Let's see.
Yeah, tight game. Gonna be a tight game.
And Indiana is a 7-point favorite over Alabama, and Georgia by 6.5 over Ole Miss.
I can't wait. Those are all awesome games.
Those should be good games. Do you think the college football playoff needs to change the way teams get in? The first week was pretty bad.
There were two games that first off, James Madison covered the spread.
Oh, they did? I didn't realize that.
They covered this. They put up 34 points against Oregon.
But wasn't it
on the road?
Yeah, but they were never really in the game.
What's that?
It was 34-6 at halftime.
No, they don't have enough talent to compete. But I'd also say the same thing about the NCAA tournament. and how those most, those high seeds have no chance. A 13 it's a really challenging to beat a 4,
Right.
but it happens.
The difference potentially could be maybe you left out in college basketball. You're not going to leave out a team that could have won the title, whereas here, have you like who the best teams that didn't get in or what? Notre Dame and
I mean, I would argue that you could definitely leave out a team that could win a title in college basketball.
think
I mean,
so, huh?
yeah, I think so for sure. I mean, 100%. Some of these teams that ended up like going to the NIT, they just had like let's say they had an injury early in the year or something like that, and
Yeah.
they're a team from the ACC or the Big Ten, and they go to like the NIT and they run the table. They could compete in the tournament. Look, I think the college football playoff needs to go to 16, which they will, and they're going to,
Don't like
but
it.
they need to go to 24.
Oh my God! Then the regular season has no meaning.
It still has meaning. What are you talking about?
Ohio State already is a lock for the playoffs every year. If you're going to go to that many teams, then you can't play any bad teams.
Yeah, I mean, isn't Duke a lock for the NCAA tournament every year?
No, I don't. For
basketball.
Have they made it every year?
I mean, I would argue that they make it 90% of the time.
Yeah, but the regular season in college basketball is kind of meaningless.
I mean, seeding still matters. And so at the FCS, I think they do it right. So they do 24 teams, and the top 8 teams get buys in the first round, and then the next 8 teams are hosting. Yeah.
And you got to do more games at home, but I don't know. You'd have to cut the regular season down to 10 games, get rid of conference championships. It'd be
the first 2 rounds end up being on-site playoff games.
Yeah. By the way, the Duke did not make the tournament 2 years in a row, 1920 and 2021.
I bet you they made the other 17.
I think those seasons were both affected by COVID. Besides that, the only other year since the 83-84 season, those are 2 of only 3 years they didn't make it. They were bad in the 94-95 season. That's it.
So I was right.
Yeah. But that's, again, the regular season has been rendered meaningless already. That doesn't help the argument that,
The regular season's not meaningless if the games, like, here's the thing. I want to see more top opponents play each other in the regular season. So I don't want to see teams. There should never be an Alabama versus Mercer game in November.
Well, or Ohio State against Miami of Ohio.
Those I can deal with.
I don't want
whatever. Adam, I'm talking about FCS. No FBS team should be playing an FCS opponent.
They should.
Ever.
The best thing for college football to me is have, just one conference of like, I don't know, all
we're
the
not going to
best
solve
teams.
it in 2 minutes right now.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that much.
I hear you. All right. Last thing, the Cavs played their best game in a while. It was against a really crappy Hornets team.
Didn't cover.
They didn't cover, but some of their struggling players played well yesterday.
I really like NBC's coverage.
It's the best. It was always the best.
I mean, for them to just bring it back, and they're not even a month essentially into the season, basically, maybe a month and a half. It's off the charts.
Yeah, no doubt.
I love their announcers. I mean, whatever. It's just so good.
It was always the best, and it's still the best, even after all this time.
And I love, and I'm sorry, and whatever happens with the FanDuel situation, I hope they figured it out. And I've got Spectrum.
Yeah.
But dude, it's just a pain in the ass to find the Cavs and to find the Guardians.
It is.
And because I use YouTube TV because it's so easy.
Right. Yeah.
And like last night when it's on Peacock, it's just easier. I don't know. I liked it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Signs of life from DeAndre Hunter, who he's been playing terrible, and he played well last night. Garland played well last night. Oddly, the one guy playing well lately, Jalen Tyson, was their worst player. Had no points in 20 minutes yesterday. Anyway, thanks everybody for joining us. We appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, please hit the subscribe button. Thanks to Z and Alex for producing today. I'll have Zach Jackson on the podcast on Friday. I'll be on after the game on Sunday, and then Dustin will be back with me on Tuesday next week for the final show of the year. Until then, we'll talk to you next time. But let me remind you before we go that Bet Rivers players who place a same game parlay of at least $10 on NFL or NCAA football games will receive an entry into the weekly Squares game. Winning Squares can earn up to a $50 bonus bet per entry. See the Bet Rivers app or website for full details. We'll talk to you next time. See ya.